Greetings, Rebel fans. My name is Jason Kelly. This is the Let's Run podcast. I want to welcome you all to the show today. I'm going to do a Let's Run podcast tonight. If there's interest, we will do a Burner Brigade podcast tomorrow. I think that wait, what? Sorry. I just saw some breaking news that kind of blows my mind. I'm seeing news that Luka Doncic was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis. Wait, ESPN's reporting it now. Wait, sorry, I totally apologize. That totally derails my train of thought. Um, um, I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm a Lakers fan. I'm a LeBron fan. I'm seeing that. I'm sorry. We're supposed to be talking about the Rebels losing to Reno, but I'm seeing that Luka Doncic was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. That's all right. Let's talk about the Rebels because that's not important right now. Sorry, that just completely. I think it's real. I think ESPN just tweeted that. I'm sorry. That's got to be a hack. There's no way that Luka Doncic was just traded. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. That just blew my mind. I'm gonna wait till after the podcast to confirm that. So, hello, Running Rebel fans. Hello, UNLV fans, Las Vegas sports fans. Welcome. This is the Let's Run podcast. Let's break down a awful loss to the Reno Wolfpack. Um, I'm flabbergasted that just happened. But UNLV has lost every game that they have played since January 18th, ever since they defeated San Diego State at Viejas Arena. They are winless. They have lost four in a row. They lost Wyoming, New Mexico. They've lost four in a row. Wyoming, Wyoming, Utah State, New Mexico, and Wyoming. I apologize, Mike. I'm just absolutely flabbergasted that that's apparently real. I'm feeling that like that's got to be fake. Stop smiling. Well, I'm sorry, Rebel Robert. I'm just a big Lakers fan. So if that's true, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. But the Running Rebels go up to Lawler Event Center, and they fall to the Reno Wolfpack in a honestly a very disappointing game. I thought that my biggest takeaway from this game was most definitely that this Reno team that we lost to was not very good. I don't think that some people might want to characterize this as a tough road loss to a good team. But that's not what this is. This Reno team was undefeated against top six teams. And it's pretty disappointing because I don't want the conversation, and obviously the conversation is going to be what the conversation is going to be. But this Reno team had lost to every single good team that they played in the Mountain West. We are now a home win against us is now Reno's best win in the Mountain West. They lost to every single team. They lost to Colorado State, Wyoming. They lost to Utah State at home. They lost to New Mexico. They lost to Fresno, Air Force, San Jose State. This team, they're capable of playing okay, this Reno team, but they're not good. They don't play well. This was not a Reno is good game. This was a both teams are pretty bad game, and Reno is slightly less bad than the Running Rebels right now. That was pretty disappointing. I got to be honest with you. So, looking at the scores, let's pull up the Running Rebel stats. KenPom has not updated the stats yet, so I can't see the stats on KenPom. So I'm gonna have to pull them up on ESPN. So the stats for this game. Jaden Henley was actually our leading scorer. I don't know if that's the first time that Jaden Henley has been our leading scorer. but I think it is. I think it's the first time Jaden Henley has led the team in scoring. I actually thought Henley had a pretty good game. Only 4 of 11 from the field, but I thought his size and athleticism really shined in this one. He still deals with issues with his handle being a little too loose on the perimeter. But, not a bad Henley game. Bear Cherry finishes with 12 points, only 3 rebounds. Offensively, it was probably one of Bear Cherry's best games in a while. But only 3 rebounds for Bear Cherry is pretty bad. I think that's pretty awful actually. 8 points for Jalen Hill, not a bad game from him. I thought that Kobe Sanders kind of, I didn't feel like Jalen Hill made as big of an impact in this game as I thought and hoped he would. The story for me is absolutely well, Julian Rishwain. I guess I have to talk about all the starters first. Julian Rishwain takes 8 3-pointers, finishes 2 for 8, was 0 for 6 from behind the 3-point line for a long, long, long time. Was really struggling to score. Did get 3 steals, so I mean, I think that that part of his game is probably underlooked a little bit. His ability as a defender. He's pretty good at poking balls away in traffic. And he did have 4 rebounds, 1 offensive, 3 defensive rebounds. But Julian Rishwain, Kruger's insistence on keeping Julian Rishwain on the court and not playing a guy like Jalen Bedford seems pretty astounding. There is, and I'll say this. Again, I'm never the person, I don't have inside information. I had heard kind of a rumor that there seems to be, and I had speculated about this pregame. And again, this is just a rumor. That the relationship between, and it seems pretty obvious, I think this is absolutely true. The relationship between Jalen Bedford and the coaching staff is frayed. Not, I don't know if it's broken completely to where we're just not going to have Jalen Bedford for the rest of the year. But Jalen Bedford, only 9 points, and they were all in like the first 10 minutes of the game, or first half of the game, I guess I should say. I don't think he played in the second half. It's something to monitor. I watched Keyshawn Hall. I've watched Keyshawn Gilbert. So many players kind of run away from this Run and Rebel program that have ended up being pretty good. Jackie Johnson is having an excellent year. I think Jackie Johnson could be useful for this roster this year. And so this story with Jalen Bedford, not getting time in the second half of the last 2 games, I think is something that we absolutely have to monitor. If I don't think that Jalen Bedford wants to be on this team right now. That's just a guess. Again, it's not sourced, but he just doesn't look right. He doesn't look happy. Jacob Barnaby got a few minutes. He got a donut. No stats for Jacob Barnaby. Brooklyn Hicks, again, 2 points. Why is Brooklyn Hicks not getting more minutes? It just makes absolutely no sense to me when Julian Rishwain is 0 of 6 from 3. I think Brooklyn Hicks has the potential to be a really good starting quality guard in this league. And, I like Julian Rishwain. I'm not saying we should cut his minutes. He did hit 2 threes that kept us in the game at the end of the game. But I think that Brooklyn Hicks needs to get a couple of the Julian Rishwain minutes and maybe a couple of the Jaden Henley minutes or the Jalen Hill minutes. Brooklyn Hicks deserves more time. He does. He's too good to be languishing on the bench. Pop had, not a ton going on. He did have 5 rebounds. They were all defensive rebounds, but for a freshman, it was a solid game. And then we have to talk about DJ Thomas. Look, DJ did some good things in this game. I don't want to act like he was, completely awful the whole time. DJ finishes with 12 points, 6 assists, 5 really bad turnovers. He did have 4 rebounds, 1 of 2 from 3, not enough 3-point attempts for DJ, 3 of 10 from the field overall. And the thing that everybody's probably going to be talking about is 5 of 10 from the free throw line. DJ was really bad tonight. He wasn't good. He wasn't he wasn't good enough. He did hit a big shot at the end of the game to tie it up again, but he missed 2 free throws. He took a bad, really ill-advised shot driving towards the rim. That kind of ended our chances in the game. That got blocked. I thought it was ill-advised, not well done. DJ's a good player. This performance, which was a bad performance, doesn't mean he isn't great. And I love having DJ on our team. I love that he's a hometown guy. I always feel like I have to preface my criticism of DJ with like, I love DJ. I think he's great, but he wasn't good tonight. And it's something interesting that I can see right away is Every single Rebel made all of their free throws, 2 of 2 from Bedford, 4 of 4 from Henley, 4 of 4 from Hill, 4 of 4 from Bear Cherry. You get 4 free throws from Bear Cherry without a miss, and 5 of 10 from DJ. DJ, I wouldn't say he has the yips from the free throw line, but DJ seems to have something going on from the free throw line. I don't know exactly how to characterize it, but it's not good. I'm really disappointed in his free throw shooting. He did have that 10 for 10 free throw game against San Diego State, and I think if he was perfect from the free throw line or just missed 1 or 2, I think we could have pulled this game off if DJ was that guy. But tonight he wasn't. Something else you have to realize is that like Donovan Dent, he is a year older than DJ. A lot of these guards are older than DJ. Like DJ is still young, like I think it's fair to expect from him to be a top 5 player in the Mountain West. But it shouldn't come as it shouldn't come as too big of a surprise that a small guard sophomore isn't doing everything we want him to do. And it kind of makes me feel bad because we put the weight of the world on DJ's shoulders a lot. And when he fails, he has had good moments. He has hit big shots. But when DJ comes up short, we go really hard on him, and it's not always fair. But when you're the star player, when you're getting the big NIL bag, when you're the face of the program, which he is. I mean, it's not Kevin Kruger's not the face of the program. We're going to criticize you if you miss 2 free throws at the end of the game. Like, sorry, like it sucks. I hate criticizing DJ like that, but we just have to. Going over Reno's stat line, the best player on the court tonight was Nick Davidson. He was 7 of 9 from the free throw line, 3 of 7 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. But I thought he controlled the game really well, used his size really well. Brandon Love was pretty good. Kobe Sanders, one of the weirdest players I've ever watched. He's a 6'9" guard who can get a mid-range shot anytime he wants. He only had 13 points tonight. They did get 25 points from the bench, all from 2 guys, Tyler Rollison and Justin McBride. But my biggest takeaway from this Reno team is that they, again, I started this post-game show, that Reno team was awful. Like they're not good. Like they don't play well together. It's not that they don't have talent. I'm not trying to say that Reno doesn't have talented players, but they don't play cohesively. They don't sorry, I just got a DM. Apparently the Luka LeBron thing is real, so that's pretty awesome. But they don't play together, they don't play cohesively. This Reno team is nothing special. And what does that say about us, that we're in a position to win, to beat that team and to play well, and we come up short? It doesn't look good, to be honest with you. It really doesn't. The biggest things I noticed from this game tonight, it wasn't even that I thought that the Rebels game plan wise did anything crazy. I thought that the Rebels, to be honest, defensively had an okay game plan. They had a couple things go against them in terms of officiating. Nothing that was determinative of the game, of course, but I thought their game plan was okay. Their defensive scheme was sound, even if they didn't have the personnel to execute it. They didn't shoot well. I mean, looking at their team stats, let's pull that up because that's always a good indication. The Rebels were 6 of 19 from the 3-point line. Making 6 threes is pretty good. 19 of 24 from the free throw line. All of those misses coming from DJs, 80%. I mean, that still should be good enough. They did out-rebound Reno, which, if you told me they were going to out-rebound Reno going into the game, I probably would have thought we were going to win. They had more assists than Reno. But ultimately, they weren't good enough. And that's kind of my biggest takeaway from this team and from this roster. And, I'd love to come on here and just yell and scream and, oh, they're so bad. And wow, UNLV just isn't good enough. And it's ridiculous. And I hate this so much. But they're not good enough. They don't have good enough players. If they had a great coach, Ravi chimes in. I'm not disappointed with DJ. I'm happy that Bear was able to contribute more. Yeah, Ravi, I think DJ, he's not playing bad by any means. He's still a great player, still a great hometown kid. But I think it's okay to be a little disappointed in DJ. But if you're not, that's totally fine. And again, this team struggles without DJ so much anyway. It's not like it's not like DJ's surrounded by great talent and he's coming up short. He's having to play up to a level that we all thought he was probably capable of doing, but he wasn't. The misses are all usually late game, it seems as well. Yeah, he's had a bunch of free throw misses late game, which is really disappointing. I honestly think he kind of has the yips a little bit, which is a curse to say in sports. I don't think DJ is going to listen to this. I hope he doesn't. I hope no players listen to this show because I'm really critical of the players. I always have been. I'm really critical of the coach. I wouldn't want them listening to this because I don't want to get in their head. I don't want them, thinking that all Rebel fans hate them. I love this team and I support this team and I love this program, but they're just not good enough, man. They're not. How are we going to see DJ free throws again? Want to make sure. Do we even run plays? Just let DJ freestyle. So the biggest issue with this team, Sliding Yo DM era, formerly the Go Rebels Twitter account, this is a criticism that I see of a lot of teams. Why don't they run plays? Why aren't they doing all these cool things with off-ball movement? And generally the answer to that is the other teams are just blowing up their plays. They're calling plays, but the other teams are just blowing them up. This team does not have a reliable secondary ball handler outside of DJ, which is part of the reason why, while it's okay to criticize DJ a little bit, you have to understand the parameters that we're asking him to achieve. There's no secondary ball handling on this team at all. Jalen Hill is okay, but you have some players that aren't terrible, but there's not a second guard on this team because Jalen Bedford has, basically been calling him. He's not just in the doghouse. I mean, he's in the. I was gonna make an inappropriate joke there, but I'm not going to. Like Jalen Bedford seems like he is hated by this staff right now. When you only have one ball handler and your players aren't super talented and you don't have great shooting, like plays, your guys can run around in circles, but the other team can just switch a lot of times. There's not a huge difference in defending Julian Rishwain versus Jaden Henley. You really only have to worry about DJ Thomas, and everybody else you can just switch and then double Bear Cherry in the post. Like there's too many ways to defend this Rebel team. They're too predictable. And DJ being, not quite. If DJ was Donovan Dent, would this Rebel team be better? Yeah. But yeah, this team just doesn't have it. They don't have it. Maybe if they had Rob, they would be better. But yeah, I mean, we run plays, but our players aren't good enough to execute the plays in a way that the staff would want them to. Occasionally, I see Kruger and the staff drop something beautiful. I mean, they have a horn set where they use our center to back screen. They'll bring a shooter. They'll bring Rishwain up to the top. It's basically a Spain pick and roll, but with Rishwain as the backside screener. And it gets open three-pointer. I mean, like they do draw stuff up. Like they know basketball, but they haven't recruited a team or created a roster that's good enough to execute their vision. And I think that the team lacks confidence. I think DJ lacks confidence sometimes. And I don't blame DJ for that. That's on Coach Kruger. So yeah, they run plays. They just aren't always good enough to execute them. Eric Dyer, love Eric. Eric's awesome. If you love the Run and Rebels, follow Eric. He's incredible, and he's been around UNLV Twitter for forever. Just wanted to shout you out, brother. You're great. Eric says, I think our defensive strategy isn't sustainable for a full game. The double head situation doesn't help when teams catch on, they make adjustments, and then wind up guarding DJ with a big man. Yeah, so UNLV hedges really high generally. Now, I've noticed this is an adjustment that I had said, and the staff obviously saw it too. They've stopped doing it as much with Bear Cherry, but they do it really hard. They hedge. What that means is basically you kind of double team the ball handler at a pick and roll, and it prevents a pick and roll from the other team from generating downhill speed towards the basket. It leaves you vulnerable to wing three-pointers. If you're not disciplined on the backside, if you don't have a guy dropping to help the roll man, you can give up open dunks. I don't know that I would say. I just don't think the Rebels have a lot of great defenders on the team, and that's why that strategy isn't attainable because they can't close back out to the 3-point shooters. They have a good, Bear Cherry again is a really good interior defender. When you switch him out to the outside, he really struggles with foot speed, but he's pretty good at guarding the rim when he's down there. But yeah, I think our defensive strategy probably isn't perfect for the personnel that we have. but what else are they supposed to do? I think they do the best they can for the for the duration of the game. But ultimately, it doesn't work because they don't have good enough defensive players. And if they were playing a zone, the same problems would probably still manifest themselves. If they were switching everything, great, um, they don't have great perimeter athletes for a heavy switching type defense. Martin Livingston says, it seems to me that DJ's shot has been off all year long. Um, yeah, I mean DJ hasn't shot a good percentage on the year. He's been really, he's been struggling a lot this year. Actually, I believe he's shooting like 42% from the field on the year. So yeah, I mean DJ has been struggling a little bit. Eric follows it up, says, as much as I don't want to criticize, we have low IQ basketball players as well. It's weird to see basic middle/high school principles go by the wayside so much so often. I wouldn't say necessarily that they're low IQ players. Like I think DJ is a very high IQ player. I actually think Julian Rishwain's a very high IQ player. He has physical limitations that keep him, and he doesn't have a great handle. He's not perfectly skilled, but I think he's smart. Lower, I think Jalen Hill is probably a pretty high IQ player. Um, but I hesitate to say that players have low basketball IQ just because I don't want to, insult them as individuals. But, do I think Bear always makes the smartest plays? No. Do I think Pop always makes the smartest plays? No. But I almost feel like that's more out of instinct just because Pop hasn't played a ton of basketball, in his life. Yeah, I mean, I like the players. I think that they're smart, but I don't think that they're always put in positions to have good basketball IQ moments. And I would put that more again like my when it comes to criticizing players, when it comes to criticizing DJ or Bear, like my belief is that the buck stops with the coach. If the team isn't good enough, if the roster isn't good enough, that's not the player's fault. That's the coach's fault for building the roster that way. If the players don't look smart on the court, that's the coach's fault for not installing good habits because basketball is instinct. It's not, you're not using a supercomputer to think about things, 10 minutes ahead of time in basketball. It's all about instinct, repetition, and teams gelling together. And this team just doesn't seem to gel together as well as they should. And really, I would honestly say, like, since I think Rob Whaley was a leader for this team in the offseason, and since the team kind of realized that Rob Whaley wasn't going to come back, I think they've struggled with confidence. Now, they've had high highs. They've beaten San Diego State at Viejas. They beat Utah State. And they've had a lot of low lows. This team is just too inconsistent. And I think they lack the confidence that they can execute Kruger's scheme. And I don't think that that's going to be fixed. I got to be honest with you. I'm really disappointed. Eric Dyer, Eric Dyer, I agree with the personnel not matching the scheme. Yeah, the personnel doesn't match the scheme. We have a visiting fan from the Reno Wolves Den saying, extend Kruger, bring him back. Yeah, that seems to be, I think there was a sign in the Reno student section tonight that said something like extend Kruger. It seems to be a theme amongst I'm not going to put this one up, Reno Wolves Den. But yeah, it seems to be a running joke among other fan bases in the Mountain West that they want us to keep Kevin Kruger around so that we can stay where we are right now. Question from my mom, JW Kelly. This is my mother. So where do we go from here? How do the Rebels save this season? I'll break it down for you. I'll break down what that looks like. Let's look at the Rebels schedule. I'm going to stop sharing this page, and I'll tell you. I mean, like the Rebels' chance of saving their season is pretty small, but I can tell you what it looks like. Absolutely, I'd love to give you Rebel fans that are optimistic, and I don't blame Rebel fans of sports teams are allowed to be fans of sports teams however you wish. If you're always positive and you think the Rebels are going to win every game, and if they go to the tournament, they're going to win the whole thing, and I refuse to believe the Rebels are going to be bad. If you're like that, you're consistently optimistic with the Rebels. More power to you. I wish I was like you. I wish I could have that hope. I don't always. But you should be a fan how you want to be a fan. Do not let anybody on Twitter, online, tell you how to be a UNLV fan, including me. You do what you do you. Even if you think I'm full of crap about the Pack and about the Rebels and about Kevin Kruger, you do you. Tell me off. I can take it, man. Bring it on. If you think I'm being too negative, tell me off. I'm more than happy to take criticism, and I'm happy to try and apply that criticism to my show. So let's share the screen here. I'm going to run you through how the Runnin' Rebels can save their season, what it looks like, because this is kind of an all-time low. 4-game losing streak. The Rebels now have a losing record in the Mountain West. They are 5-6. The Runnin' Rebels, how do they save their season? It starts with beating Boise State. Full stop. On Tuesday, this Boise State game is an absolute must-win. Why is that? Because you need a top 5 seed in the Mountain West tournament to have any chance at winning that tournament. Boise currently, I believe, what is Boise in the league? I think they have 4 losses, so they're 7-4. Boise is currently the 5th place team in the Mountain West, and so you need to finish ahead of Boise in the standings. That part, I don't know what you mean, Eric. Sorry, if you want to explain it, I'd love to put it up here. But it starts with beating Boise State. Boise State, we need to finish ahead of them. So that means we have to beat them at home, and then we're going to have Boise State lose 1 or 2 more games, probably to New Mexico at home, maybe at San Diego State. I think the magic number for number of losses to get the 5 seed is probably 8. So the Rebels in their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, they have to go 7-2. That involves some pretty tough games, you know. They have to go 7-2 though, and it starts with beating Boise State. And you have to hope that Boise State gets to 9 conference losses, which is something that's totally possible. If they beat Boise State, I feel confident that they're going to beat Wyoming, to be honest with you. I think that game was kind of fluky. The Rebels are projected to win their next 5 or 6 after that. You know, if you look at this, KenPom has the Rebels finishing 10-10, which means the Rebels just have to pick off 2 of these 3 losses that KenPom has projected. They have to beat Boise State. They have to beat Wyoming. They have to beat Air Force. They'll do that. They have to beat Fresno State. They have to beat Colorado State. That's going to be a tough game. They can afford 2 more losses. They can lose maybe at New Mexico and San Diego State at home. They can lose, you know, they can't lose to Boise State though. They can afford 2 losses, but if they lose 2, it's got to be like Fresno and New Mexico. But they have to win 7 of their next 9 games. That's what it would take. Hopeful Rebels on here. You be hopeful, man. Do not let any Rebel fan tell you not to be hopeful. Be optimistic. Have we had a rough decade as Rebel fans? Absolutely, but be optimistic, brother. Or sister, I don't know who you are, but because it's a burner, love the burners. But that's what it'll take. You know, 7-2. That might be enough. It's not guaranteed, but that might be enough to get you the 5th seed in the Mountain West Conference tournament. From there, if the Rebels finish 7-2, they'll finish the season with a winning record. They'll be like 18-14, I think. From there, they will have to win the Mountain West Conference tournament, something that hasn't happened since 2007, I believe. UNLV is 0-9 against all teams not named Air Force in the Mountain West tournament in the last 9 years. But Kevin Kruger, you know, putting the team on his back and becoming a really good coach and going 7-2 this last 9-game stretch, and and giving this team confidence heading into the Mountain West Conference tournament, winning the Mountain West Conference tournament, and going to the NCAA tournament. That's how you save the season. That's how you turn it around. Is it possible? Yeah, I mean, 7-2 is actually more likely to me than the Rebels winning the Mountain West Conference tournament. I got to be honest with you. I feel confident about the Rebels going to New Mexico. I think that the Rebels actually match up okay versus New Mexico. The team that worries me most, honestly, in this stretch is probably Boise State. I think Boise State matches up really well with the Rebels. And I guess we'll see. That's what it would take. But, this Reno team sucks. This UNLV team is mediocre. Their backs are kind of up against the wall. Kevin Kruger's back is up against the wall. Everybody knows that Kevin Kruger will be gone basically for certain at the end of this year. Until he is no longer our coach, until the last second ticks off the clock in the Mountain West Conference tournament, despite what you may think, despite the fun that I may poke at Kevin Kruger, I will be rooting for him to succeed. The minute the season is over, if the season goes kind of how I feel like it's going to go and how a lot of Rebel fans feel like it's going to go, I'll be calling for his job, which I'll be saying, you cannot bring this guy back under any circumstance. Blah, 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 blah. I've always been against midseason firing crap. That stuff is stupid. You shouldn't fire Kevin Kruger midseason. It's bad. It's bad karma. Kevin Kruger's a very nice man, a family man who knows basketball, but just hasn't been a great coach for UNLV. But until the very end of the season, I think we should just root for the guys. Try and get as many people to the Thomas and Mack as we can. If they end the season, on a 7-2 stretch, you can have a little bit of hope going into the Mountain West Conference tournament. Even if they go 6-3, I mean, it's not likely that they'll finish behind Wyoming. I think the 6th seed is probably about as low as the Rebels will get, because I don't think Reno is very good. I don't think that Reno is going to pass the Rebels in terms of a standing thing. So the Rebels have to finish in front of Reno, but 7-2, and then you hope that you have a puncher's shot in the Mountain West Conference tournament. Losing to your rival is never fun, especially when it's not a good team. This is a really bad Reno team. I really don't think they're very good. Not that they don't have talent. Losing to your rival sucks, and losing to a bad team, what does that say about you? I guess we'll see. Eric, I'm going to end it here in just a second because I've got to scroll through Twitter endlessly about this Luka Doncic to the Lakers news. Eric Dyer says, I'm always very optimistic. I never go into a game saying we are going to lose. I'll be there Tuesday, and hopefully we can pull something out. Won't ever turn my back on my team. Just gets frustrating at times, almost like we are not moving forward or backward, but a Rebel through and through. Absolutely. And the Let's Run podcast is going nowhere. UNLV could fail to make the NCAA tournament for the next 30 years, and the Let's Run podcast, as long as I am here on Earth, will be around. Because I love this team, I love the program, and I expect good things from it because I put a lot into it emotionally, and now with the podcast, physically, it takes work to put this stuff together, but I'm going to keep supporting these guys. 7-2, guys, that's the goal. Has to start with a win against Boise State. If we get blown out by Boise State at home on Tuesday, things will start to look pretty bleak. But until then, I think you can have, we got to beat Boise. Just focus on Boise. As a fan, focus on Boise. Don't bury the guys tonight. It sucks to lose to Reno, really does. But Kevin Kruger knows that his job's on the line. His job's basically gone unless he pulls something crazy out here. Everybody knows. So, you can say it. I'm not telling you not to say it and not to call for his job on Twitter. You do you. If you're a very pessimistic fan, be pessimistic. Call for his job. Be angry. Don't cross any lines. But it's okay to do that because Kevin Kruger's getting paid like $1 million a year. He can handle a little bit of criticism. But that is all I wanted to say for tonight. I'm excited to jump on Twitter. But I appreciate you all for listening. Over 300 people watching, even after a loss. That's pretty great. And so I'm grateful for everybody that checks out the show. Thank you all. I know that the Pac-12 stuff is really annoying, and I appreciate you guys not tuning me out and thinking that I'm boring and awful to listen to anymore, because I know I talk about that a lot on Twitter. I try not to talk about it as much on the show, but I just appreciate the patience with me on that because I know it's a tiring topic, and I know it doesn't really matter. Martin Livingston added a whole bunch of stuff. Jump shots he's hitting last year. No, they're low IQ players. Come on, you maybe. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know how we fell so far from last year. My expectations this year were so much higher, and I do feel like injuries and losing Rob Willie has some sort of impact. Not sure though. Yeah, injuries have been killer. Injuries have been killers for us. Yeah, Rob could probably play right now, but I didn't realize that I was missing a bunch of comments up here. I apologize, guys. Go Rebels. Yep, go Rebels. So, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. I appreciate you guys. I apologize. What's more realistic, 7-2 or 2-7? Probably 2-7. I got to be honest. 7-2, actually. I think they have a pretty winnable stretch. They're probably going to go 5-4 or something, but I would say 7-2 is more realistic than 2-7, just because they have a lot of winnable games in the stretch. Okay, I want to make sure if you commented, I want to make sure that I got your comments up here because I appreciate you guys commenting. All right, that seems to be everything. So, guys, have a great night. We will get a pregame show on Tuesday to cover this Boise State game. But God bless you all. Have a great night. Spend lots of time with your family. Make sure the people that you love know that you love them. And let's run, Rebels. Woo!